Everybody, it is Tuesday, 6 February 2024, and this is a special meeting of the Waterville Valley Select Board. I'm the chair, Rich Rita, and today here with me is Vice Chair Bob Freeze and Select Board Member Wendy Rathgeber. So we have a quorum. All right, so the first item is, I take it you're here for the warrant review, Patty?
Yeah.
Okay, so no privilege of the floor. So let's move right to the budget documents, I guess, is the first thing on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I made copies of what I
Yep.
have sent you, so this budget document dated 2023, but it should be 2024.
Okay.
Yeah, so that that's the first time I've made that mistake this year. This is the budget document that we are using to develop the warrant. That is draft 1 revised, okay?
Gotcha.
So these numbers all check to the warrant articles. And it includes the budget breakdown by department and the revenue sheet that we will be putting into the town report. Okay, so these would be the actual pages in the town report. So unless there are any last minute changes.
No, anything you'd like to point out, any of this that?
No, these
Structure
have
went
all
on
of the,
together?
all of the revisions that we've talked about in the past. This reflects under the major equipment replacement on page 2. About 2/3 of the way down, there's a line of 346,500. That reflects the change in the plow truck lease that we talked about. Remember, Megan had the last minute quote
Yeah, it's
that
about
we're now
50,
using, about a
$60,000.
$55,000
Cheaper, yeah,
cheaper
you like that?
option. So, and all of these incorporate all of the changes we have made over the past month or so in the budget. So,
Yeah. I like-
if
Don't
a
see any
$1.06
surprises.
is okay, we can
We'll go into
go
town meeting.
into town meeting.
Well, at
the
least the budget meeting, the
hearing.
budget hearing
Yeah,
tomorrow.
and the intent would be to do this, and I've made a sheet just listing off the slides and the way that I
Right.
would present them.
Right,
So the first thing we have to do is the official bond hearing on the 2 bond articles. That has to start at 6:15, because that's what we posted in the newspaper and around town. So my approach on this would be an introduction slide about why we're there and
Mhm.
all of that. Then Dave has, I believe it's 12 slides that review both the fire truck and the ambulance warrant articles and the
they're
background
bonded, right.
information, because they're the bonds. And then when he finished that, then I have my slide, which is the Excel spreadsheet with our total current bonded debt.
Oh, right, oh,
And then a page that talks about our debt limits, that are statutory debt limits. So I talk about both of those
Mhm.
items. And then we have the capital reserve accounts. They're not technically bonded, but they are major improvements. And this also goes into Amy's
yeah. it's good to put
desire
it
for
here.
a few minutes.
Right.
So I thought putting it in the bond section
Sure.
would be a good time. So we'll talk through the 2 warrant articles for the capital reserve accounts, and then have Amy do her discussion.
That's the 100 and the 25.
The 100,000 and the 25,000,
What is it? What is 100,000 increase on the tax rate?
20 cents.
20 cents?
Mhm. every dollar is $506,000.
So if you put away $500,000, that would be $1.
It's a dollar, yeah. And then we would close the bond hearing at that point,
Mhm.
and then open the town budget hearing. I have another introduction slide. I'm gonna do a slide on the status, current road project update. Talk about the completion of Snows Brook Road in the spring. Talk about the 4 roads that we have on the plan this year, the engineering that we have approved. We've sent off the contract to HEB. That's all set. We're gonna update the remaining balance on the previously approved warrant articles. And then I'll have that as a handout. And then take any, if there are any questions on that, and if not, we'll go right into wastewater treatment facility project update. And then a separate slide for the transfer station
Yeah.
update. Transfer station, just to let you know, we have submitted the PBN electronically. And we're sending the hard copy out tomorrow in the mail. So that is done with all of the required waivers.
Requested.
We've been communicating with the DES staff. So I would expect that that's a complete application and we're ready to go. And then the next step is when we get Black and Veatch on board, which the good news there is yesterday we reached an agreement on the wording on the contract. Attorneys for both
They're
sides
lawyers,
were
not
there,
lawyers.
and everybody has
Figured they
nodded their
charged us
heads.
enough and.
They
so it's
charged
time
us
to-
enough, so
Per hour.
they
to-
gave us the thumbs up, and so we're just waiting for the revised document to come back so it can be signed. So that will be hopefully done by tomorrow, so that we can report that
Great.
that is complete. So once I go through those slides, answer any questions, then we can get into the 2024 budget summary. Talk about the use of fund balance. Those are slides right off the
Mhm.
previous slides that I showed you. Tax impact of the proposed budget increase will change slightly from what we briefed at the first presentation. And then in talking to Rich, we have the sales ratio study that we just got from the state. And in the packet that I just copied for you is the cover page for that. Ratio study looks like this. So the big number is right there in bold, 73.5% is the town-wide median. So I'd like to bring this up in a slide to talk about the need for the property reval statistical update that we're gonna do
Do
this year.
only 2 years after.
Yeah,
Why we have
only
to do
2 years after the total reval, but it is required now because this is actually the second year that we've been under
it. Mhm.
90%. So,
Yeah.
all right, so that'll be a slide, and then talk about the 2008 to 23 town taxes compared to total valuation, right? That little slide with the line and the bars. The town budget breakdown pie chart. Those ducks. In Corcoran's pond, on Bob's phone. And then talk about major change areas. 20,
Keep on going.
We'll stop.
there you go. 20 major change areas are the 4 primary areas: personnel, debt service, can't remember what the third one is. Oh, other department costs,
And then,
Um,
and then
and then,
capital.
capital.
Right.
Yeah. And then, talk about each one of those in line.
Mhm,
And then the special warrant article has its own slide for the Ray Center.
mhm.
Leah is gonna try to be there. And we have the handout that we've been using of the operating budget and the preschool budget side by
Mhm.
side. The slide, I have a slide that explains that it's a 3-year thing. And a written agreement with the select board. So, and then take any questions.
Will this be recorded tomorrow?
Are we recording
We are gonna record it, it's not gonna be live, because
Right.
we don't have that
capability in the
capability to
gym?
do it live with the.
Sure,
Now Wi-Fi over there.
but it will be up on YouTube after, so.
We're
it-
gonna
is it-
record it into the computer and then we will post it.
Cool.
So I assume we sit at the head table.
Yeah,
Us-
we'll have, yeah, we'll be up front. And then on the sheet, and there's actually a third one, so I will have 3 other PowerPoint presentation slide decks. One of them will be all the departmental demographic information showing changes in population and motor vehicle
Services and all that sort of
registration
thing.
services. And then I have another one is all the slides that are the what we do town services
Hmm.
slides. And then the recreation slides that we had available last year specific to the rec department. I do have her updated sheet on the comparison between a resident and a transient guest for the services that she provides, and then the overall rec information for the 2023.
So we
end of
end
year.
up with the last couple of years with the amount that the town has to put in decreasing, It's what, 48% or something?
Yeah. Yeah, so last year was 48%, this year was 49%. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll have those 3 slide decks if there are any questions during the hearing about those things. I have I'll have copies of a bunch of information here as far as the CIP, all 6 years of the capital program. I've got the numbers from the water sewer in case there are questions on the proposed changes to the fee schedule that we have built into the revenues. Anything else that you can think of might come up? I've got the sheet that we did that shows the retention program, the percentages per year, and the adjustments that we're making this year on the 5, 10, 15, and 20-year employees. So I have
You
that.
talked about the Corcoran Pond.
You know what? I do not. I think we can do that as I'm going through the other. Where would be a good place to put
Yeah, you
that?
might put it in a major change area, maybe.
Well, how about the other operating costs? Or you know
Because it's in
what?
the
No,
operating
there
budget,
is,
right?
there is another slide, and that's the other warrant articles. So going through all the leases,
55,000.
all the leases and
Yeah.
the 55 or the 35 and 20.
Right,
Yeah, so I will, where do we? I guess after other operating costs
You could put it all the way down there.
before the Ray Center,
I mean-
or do you want the Ray Center further up?
You could also put it at the beginning when you're going through the context. These are the big things we've got.
All right, major change areas, and then talk about the other warrant articles after that, because there's like
Sure,
3 or 4 slides in that
right.
part of the deck where I where I break down the warrant articles, you know, and kind of group them like the rec facilities, and that's got the shed and the Corcoran's Pond and
Right,
the
that have to be
dock.
individual, but
Right, they
because
have to be individual,
legally,
but I
but
can
we can
group them
group them
together.
together for
Okay,
explanation.
so I'll do
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, and that'll bring
at that
out
point.
a bit of the timeline we're looking at and so forth on the dredging.
yeah, that'll.
Well, it's a deferred timeline.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'll stick that in there. Anything else that,
we
Okay.
good?
good? So that is the presentation and the budget docs, so.
All right. Move on to the warrant review. Okay, I guess this point it's just a matter of wordsmanship. I think Patty, you had mentioned several things, I think, and some of the language in the warrant.
I had questions on the Ray Center, the wording on the Ray Center.
Right,
Yep, it is a
One.
special warrant article.
And what does special mean?
By definition of DRA, if we have a portal that we have to enter all of the warrant articles in. They give us recommended wording.
Okay.
It is considered a special warrant article and by DRA, so we have to use this language.
So
We
if
have
an
checked that
amendment
with-
comes from the floor
Yeah,
for. Say someone says, why can't we make this a capital reserve fund instead of?
can't do that.
So I can say no, that's. not
Right,
allowed.
with that type of an amendment, the only amendment to this is you can increase or decrease the
And
amount.
that's basically.
That's all.
Or change it to 5 years. I think 5 years is the maximum you can do a non-lapsing. Is that right? I'm not sure, but if they wanted to change the years. Say they wanted to increase it, let's make it 4 years. Is that kind of?
No.
allowed?
The board, the language, the number of years is set in the language. So yes, the maximum it can be is 5. But that would be up to the board to put it in as 5. Right, and then the town can decide how much money to put in there to be non-lapsing for 5. We'll check with council before town meeting to see. But I'm pretty sure that because we've put 3 in here, that it has to stay 3. The amount is not locked in,
Right, but.
but the time limit, I'm pretty sure is. But we'll check, and if, I'll let you know if
Okay, thank you.
that's an
I
appropriate
would think
amendment.
if you're going out to 4 and 5 years, if that's what the town wanted, that the 30,000 per year would probably have to go up because of inflation.
Right, and I'm pretty sure they can, and I know they can amend the dollar amount at town meeting.
Right,
I wasn't sure if they could amend.
well, but I'd have a hard time saying to town meeting, like, what should we amend it to? Like Bob's talking, we've set 3 years for the 90,000 because they agreed to 30,000 a year.
Right.
But you're saying year 4 and 5, should that be 35,000
Who
or
knows?
something like
Yeah.
that? And so,
I'm
I
just
don't- I don't
trying to
just
figure
know if we know.
out
yeah,
things that
no,
might come from the
absolutely,
floor.
absolutely,
Yeah,
and
That's
we'll
not-
check that.
yeah.
But yeah,
4 and
I'd
5 years, that
struggle.
was quite a ways these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
And then the name of the preschool.
The name I will change, it is Curious Cottage Preschool.
Yeah,
That's
there's
all we
no
need
Jordan.
to, and quite frankly, we could just say preschool and that would be okay.
Yeah.
But
This will make it
The-
clear to people
yeah.
out there, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would like that earlier in the list of warrant articles, only because I do want to do a paper ballot vote for that. And the next item right after this currently is the full budget. So I'd like time for the supervisors to count the ballots before we vote on on the budget.
Right, so right now we have it at. Cause we had talked about it at our last meeting. About perhaps moving it's Article 26, perhaps moving that up. I don't think we. Made a final decision one way or the other.
How about 18? Move it up to 18.
Sit down, appropriate 20 to something.
Do you care if they're counting during the discussions on the
No.
leases?
No.
Okay.
And the counting won't take that long,
No.
but I'd like to have it
Mhm.
back before we move on to the budget discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like, it might make a difference.
So right after
Does
the
it-
capital reserve.
Right after the capital reserves, do you
So we
care about that?
yeah, we do the bonds first, because we
Yeah,
have to.
you have to do the bonds first and then keep the capital reserves up front
Up front.
because
That's
may-
gonna,
engender
A
a lot
discussion.
of conversation.
right? Sure, I'm okay with that. What do you guys think?
I don't care.
Yep, and then we'll get into all the 25,000s here and 66,000 there. That we have to have a separate articles for the various.
Yeah. To Article 18, okay.
Yeah, that'll make it 18, and I don't think that,
And my other question on that, is there a planned presentation by anyone at town meeting?
Right now. Yes, I can't tell you who, but it'll be probably either Steve Larkin or Leah. Unfortunately, Steve broke his ankle yesterday. And he will not be there tomorrow night that I'm aware of. And so Leo is trying to be there, but I told them that I can handle questions tomorrow night, but one of the two of them or both of them will be there for town meeting
Okay.
day.
I would hope so.
Are they still at 5 kids? Do we know?
No, they're at 6 now.
6?
They got another one a couple of weeks ago. Started.
All right.
Yep.
Anything else, Patty?
And are they, whoever does the presentation at town meeting, are they gonna give you a presentation?
No,
slide
there
deck
won't be slides. They have a handout.
before? Okay,
I don't anticipate that there will be slides. If there are, it'll be built into my deck and. We'll just scroll through them.
and
But
hopefully the
they'll be
presentation won't be more than 10
5,
minutes.
yeah, 5 minutes. Let me back up. I will have a slide on this warrant article that explains what a non-lapsing account is and what the intention is with and it'll be the same slide that I show tomorrow night.
Yeah, and tomorrow may give us some
Yeah, an
indication. of how
indication,
it's
and
gonna
then
go.
if,
Yeah.
depending on the comments, if the comments go a certain way tomorrow night, we can modify that.
Yeah.
If you want. I mean, if there is anyone who's intending to make it longer, so we don't have to deal with it as often, they should say something tomorrow night, right? Because that would
Right.
give us the opportunity to change the warrant article and change the amount. I mean,
Right.
Can you do that at this point?
yeah, at this point you can, if it
Be our
comes
last-
up at the
Right.
hearing, you can make a change based on your conversations tomorrow,
Because it'll be after the meeting.
because
tomorrow
it'll be
that we
after,
Vote on
right,
what the warrant will be and what articles are gonna be. So we've taken out.
we've taken out
articles in the
articles, we've increased,
Moved-
we've
moved
changed
Right
money
after the public
amounts.
hearing.
Yep.
Yeah, we've done that kind of thing before. Is anybody aware of Patty in particular? Have you heard anything about a petition warrant for? So I don't think we
Anything?
have anything coming our way.
No,
We're gonna get our wish for a shorter meeting. I honestly, I don't see, there will be a lot of discussion about, I think the Ray Center one, I think you're right.
so.
Yeah,
But I can't, there isn't a lot other than the operating budget. These are pretty standard warrant articles,
This
maybe
time
on.
last year, I had no idea people would care about holidays.
Well,
I'm
that's
really-
true.
well, it's
Well,
always
we're not-
something that,
Not modifying any of those sorts of things, so hopefully. This is pretty standard. Are you guys hearing anything that people are
particularly
particularly?
exercised about or interested in. Nothing that's come my way.
Okay,
The preschool, I think, is the the
Yeah.
thing most people are talking
Yeah.
about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
There could be an extended discussion around the capital reserves. And Amy's concept that may.
Mhm.
Take a little bit of time to get through,
Sure.
but it really is, that's more of a contextual
on,
philosophical discussion,
right,
because it's
and
not,
I,
it's
as-
not in the budget at that time,
exactly.
right? We can't add a whole new,
You can't add a whole
Whole
new
new-
capital reserve.
right,
And you can't change this warrant article to be for a different purpose.
Right,
Mm.
You can put more money in for this, but it would have to be used for engineering for the
because that's the intent, it
Snows
says it's for
Mountain
engineering
Road
for.
capital
Snows-
reserve.
Right,
The trash truck, if they wanted to add additional money towards the trash truck so that we didn't have to
right,
borrow it when we replace the truck, they could make it 125,000 or whatever they want.
but no
But
one can
again, not
propose
the-
from the floor, I'd like to
I'd like to make
establish
this,
a new,
right, I can't,
Right.
we can't establish a new capital reserve
With X
for
amount.
the dump trucks, or we can't
anything,
change that trash truck to be trash truck and
right,
something else. It's gotta be for that purpose.
all right.
oh, my other question about the race center article as it was worded, it doesn't say where the funding is coming from. and I don't know
Doesn't
how
have
important
to
that
in the
is. Okay.
wording. No, I checked that with town
Okay.
council as well. Although the board, it is an optional thing. You can say that the funding is to come from general taxation or,
I think that was the
Whatever.
intent when we discussed it. We didn't talk about fund balance or anything like
No.
that. We were
you
talking
want it
about
to be, I can put
general
that in.
taxation because we
Yeah.
talked about that being something like 18 cents.
Yep,
It'd
Of
probably
the,
be more transparent if we specified. It would come
that's
from
the,
general.
intent. Yeah, I think during the,
so they can add it, they just don't have to.
yeah, no, we should bring up,
Okay.
that's,
You
Oh.
said every other one
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
Yes, and
yeah.
This one
That's a
didn't.
good point.
I will add it.
anybody have anything else? Anything else, Patty? Any changes?
I think to me, the Article 4 is really vague. I don't know if people are gonna understand what that is, but maybe it's,
You're talking about the, yeah, this is for the
the intent of
planning
the
board.
ASE category in the use table is to allow, quote, some additional activities as accessory uses. To me, that's really vague.
Yeah, I think what I was planning to do, I agree with you. When I read it, I had the same reaction. I had a couple other similar type reactions to some of the other zoning amendment changes. It's the perennial issue we have with zoning amendment changes. As I think.
Yeah.
Wendy very much knows.
Towns, and I forget which town it was, just looking at other towns' warrants, and under zoning amendments, after this, they had a little explanation.
And that's, I was going to recommend at this Thursday's upcoming planning board meeting, 8 AM, if anybody wants to come. That we do a better job of explaining and not just dropping this, so it could be just a little explanatory sheet or something, so people can see it ahead of time and what the intent and or the meaning is. Some of these, no big
You
deal,
have that already. It's
Right.
upstairs.
right?
It's an explanation in addition to this
Right.
wording.
I think I'm talking about making it, having the planning board be more proactive about getting that stuff out there. I know we talked to Tara about it, we have to be very careful, right? Because the planning board has to be very careful when they're talking to the public who are voting on this, about not directing their vote.
Mhm.
Right, so that's a little bit of an issue here. But do you think that would be useful? Would that be good enough to have at the polls?
Well-
Here, I remember at the polls, there was a handout.
Yes, that's what we've done in the past.
Few people actually read it, I
Yes,
recall.
That's what I'm reacting
Some
to.
people read it and said it doesn't line up because they were looking at warrant article number 2 and it was amendment number 1.
Yeah, that's
whatever.
always the issue too.
And, so I kept pointing that out to.
Yeah,
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we underline amendment number X? Right? I can underline it here so that it's easier to call their attention to it.
I mean, but it's,
So-
Handout say warrant article number.
Sure.
At first. And then
Sure, it
amendment
can-
number just
Well,
like
yeah,
the warrant
and
says.
we can underline, like here, Article 5, you can underline amendment number 4.
in
And
the
this-
actual
That way people can,
polling,
you know,
right?
can look at it.
They could bring an information sheet into the voting booth with them, right?
Yeah.
If it's,
Yeah.
completely nonpartisan,
Right.
right? You don't want to have anybody passing out.
Nobody can
Cards or
pass out
anything.
anything, right? But you
I don't
can,
know when the cards were passed out, but
Yeah,
so,
we could find a couple.
yep,
so we will underline the amendments.
But I'm talking about in the handout that the planning board
Yeah, and put the
Yeah.
article,
have article number.
yes,
5
no, I
and
think
amendment
that's,
number, so that it's clear.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say almost all the people who read the handout at the polls last year asked the question.
Yeah.
about
right.
Which one is which?
okay,
No, we could do that and whatever, that sort of handout could be put on the town website.
if it hasn't been already,
Yeah,
sure.
well, this will, with some of these changes
With
that
the
would.
changes.
That we're talking about, maybe some copies at the post office. It's just that last year, as in past years, it's really silence until you get to the polls on the part of the planning board. And so that opens it up
Mhm.
to misinformation, disinformation. And which is what we experienced, I think, last year on
Absolutely.
one of the amendments, so.
Mhm.
I don't know, we'll talk about it at the planning board and,
Mhm.
but I think something available on the town website. Handout available before town meeting at the post office. Be a good place, you think?
Sure.
Anything else you think? I mean, I'm not sure how much we can do. I mean, at some point, people have to take responsibility and agency for their understanding and actions. I saw that look, Mike. But I think we should give them a handout because these things
Yeah.
can be very complicated.
They can,
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
as
Um,
Bob said, what the heck is with Article 4? It's really just out of the blue. What is that all about?
well, I think for Article 4, you could put note and say A/E equals accessory use, special exception. You know, you can do some explaining. I think the reason, Bob, that they put
Just the one
Um,
sentence.
that, let's see, what was your thing?
Well, it was the,
Some additional
additional activities
activities
as
was only
accessories.
because it was a pretty long list of
right,
the activities, and I'm not sure how to condense that. Or explain that without really increasing the length of this.
no, it would have to be on a separate sheet, I think, for that explanation.
Right,
Because that's a
Yeah,
little, it is a
I-
little bit on the complex side.
yeah, okay, well, the planning
Right.
board can see what they
I
can
mean,
do.
people aren't gonna understand, I think, or why would they want to understand that? The accessory special interest in Article 4, it's redefining accessory
Right,
to be more, to be a wider, and have more
right,
expansive definition where accessory tended to be related to, in the past, understood related to the primary business.
right.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the kind of complexity you get in here and we
Is
could,
select board one word or 2?
Select boards.
I was told one word.
One
When
word.
they changed it,
Mm.
so it made the one to one word, yeah.
Oh, and that was your other question about, the Ray Center article.
Oh, yes.
I asked town council,
Right,
it has the wording on the DRA website does say that you have to recommend
Okay,
the article. I mean, take a vote on it.
take a vote on it. Okay, well,
So
Uh,
there has to be a board position.
so we'll do all of those tomorrow evening after the
Mhm.
public hearing, I think was the intent. To run
Yep.
down all the articles. See if we want to make any changes. And then vote on all of them so we can get it. Out to the printers. We're
Yeah.
running out of time there, maybe? All right, so we gotta get, if we, for some reason, we need more time than. Tomorrow evening to discuss it among ourselves, then we'll have to get together. As a board on Thursday or Friday morning. To finish that, because that's,
We gotta have it. by
we gotta have
Friday.
it in order to get it printed and out, so.
We'll get it done tomorrow. Piece of cake.
I think so, I mean, the vast majority of these warrant articles, at least the ones the select board have put together, are
And then one other
pretty
thing.
standard stuff.
11 o'clock to 5 o'clock for the polling time. And 6 o'clock in the evening for the deliberative session. Is that okay?
The usual hour, same place, right, where everything's gonna be in the gymnasium, so. An
Okay.
hour is good enough.
And then you had a comment about the, in God's name and blah, 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 whatever,
Right,
Year of our Lord,
which I agreed with, I
yeah,
agreed with
no
you.
other town ends it that way. So, for us, and I think it's just a historical. Fancy way of saying the year.
is it, I think we found out it's not required to be. To be said that way, I think it's a question of, I mean, it's just always been this way in Waterville Valley. I mean, do we want to make that decision, or do we want to ask? Maybe tomorrow night, ask, people who come what they
Well,
feel
what
about it,
about a sense of meeting at the town meeting?
or at
this
town meeting
year?
to make that
And-
change.
So where does that appear?
You have,
Very end.
you have the very end, you have the catch-all warrant articles and just get a sense of meeting and. If
Do what we
everybody
did.
wants to change it, we'll.
Change it for next year.
25.
Yeah, I guess I'm, that's kind of what I was thinking of, I'd like to just get input.
Well, it's something that's signed by the three of you, so I think it has to come from the three of you. It doesn't
Yes.
Come from the town.
No, I agree, but I guess from my perspective, I was looking for some guidance or. Direction from
I would,
the
I would,
town,
I would change it right now, but
okay?
that's me.
Yeah, I mean. I could see both sides. I don't know that we necessarily need it, but I could see asking people to, either way. I'm not sure that anyone has paid a lot of attention to it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's historical and so it has that value, but the common regular person going to
Mhm.
meeting probably doesn't even read that far.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess you're right. Well, basically, you're the decision making here. You have one board member saying, let's just make the change. You have another board member saying, well, why don't we get a sense from the public what to do? So
And, all right, well, I guess.
you gotta go first in this business. Right,
Get your opinion out there.
right,
Yeah.
and make someone else
Yeah,
have to be the,
exactly.
Decision, yeah. Well, why don't we just take it out for now and then see if people react to it?
you guys want it out, we take it out?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So then it would just read given under our hands and seals as blank day of February. 2020,
You don't have to spell it out. None of
Right.
the other towns have spelled out.
2024,
Just put 2024.
okay. Okay, anything else on the warrant that anybody was struck with wants to bring up?
Number 11 has been filled in and the copy I had, it was not,
Yeah, we'll fill it in.
that's the one about
Yeah.
the zoning.
Mhm. Yep.
Filing fee.
we'll get that.
You'll have to get all those settled with the planning board on Thursday. Their final language on the first 11, I guess it is, right? Those
Yep.
are theirs. Yeah.
And 11 does not need to go to town meeting, it's on the ballot, correct?
What is?
This is the zoning ordinance change to remove.
No, it's a ballot question.
Yeah, it'll be the remove the language on building permit
Building
cost.
permits.
Front, take it out of zoning.
Yeah.
Where it shouldn't be, but even if we left it in, it's wrong because we.
Yeah.
Based on last year's meeting, the town changed.
Right.
And it's a selectmen's orders, select board ordinance, whatever number, right? So. That is more of a just a little cleanup. Yeah, that's just strictly a ballot.
I was actually hoping because last year's warrant article used the term and administration of the permit, that it would cover changing the zoning ordinance, but you had said no. So that we wouldn't have to bring this up at all.
No, this has to be
But
done.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Can't change the zoning ordinance without a vote.
Right. And this is simply just deleting a whole section,
Mhm.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on the warrant? Bob, Wendy, Patty? Anything on, moving on, next topic, land donation updates.
Yeah, we have, actually, it's a legal, I have a legal
For non-public?
issue.
Okay. Nothing
On
at this, okay.
Yeah. Nothing.
Okay, we talked a little bit about the 2023 ratio study.
Yep,
Anything further you wanna?
no, I
That's
just, that is going to be our number. So we would anticipate, the statistics that go with that, the coefficient of dispersion, yeah,
From last year.
from last year's, those are all of the analysis of the statistics are very good. Like, this is the best coefficient of dispersion I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
It is a very tight.
And unfortunately, we're way out of it,
Unfortunately, everything is too low.
too low.
So,
Right.
but the nice thing is there are no big outliers. Or, it's not a very wide
I mean,
pattern,
in terms
so
of types of property or anything
in,
like
in
that.
terms of whether the condos didn't move.
Right,
More than or less than the houses and vice versa.
right,
So everything is down the 26.5%.
Right.
So we would anticipate when the analysis, the statistical update is done, that when we move everything relative to each other, they'll all move at about the same amount. So that part of it is good. But it will, this tax rate increase that we're projecting, when you actually see the tax rate number, it's not going to be up $1.06. It's probably only going to be up 70 cents or so.
right, but we're not gonna know
78
that
cents,
until.
Right.
But we won't know.
So-
And it will be further complicated because we're adding a very large amount of new value
Right,
to the rolls this year.
right,
So that'll further skew it a little bit. So just going to try to get across those concepts at the meeting tomorrow night. And just let people know that it's, not gonna look exactly.
So
like
will that
this.
affect them in the second billing for 2024?
We can't change the first billing.
Yeah, so the first billing would be the $1.06 increase or whatever it is.
No,
Will be
it
the
won't
The same as
be,
last year.
yeah.
it'll
it's
be
this-
1/2 of last
Okay, of
year's
last year's.
total.
Then
bill.
that finishes off. Last year,
Correct.
right,
Well,
I
just
know,
for your edification.
yes,
It is an estimate.
yes,
So the only real tax bill that we send is in October.
right,
That is considered a tax bill.
right,
The bill that goes out in the spring is an estimate
estimate,
for the year.
right,
And it is based on exactly 1/2 of the prior year's bill,
right.
just so people.
And then we make it up
It's
in
one of those
December,
weird
in the
New Hampshire
December.
things,
Yeah,
so, but anyway. All right, and that's all I have.
okay,
Villas,
the
we
villas,
did not, we were supposed to have a meeting with one of the condo owners at the villas to talk about the dumpster enclosure. Couldn't make it, so we will meet with him in March probably. And then we'll talk about it, so nothing
are
to,
we getting resistance to
yes,
our decision to
yes,
not have a dumpster
from one of the owners,
from one of the owners?
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
but as it stands now, our decision is what it is.
correct. Yep. And while we're talking about dumpster enclosures, just because we're being recorded, I'd just like to put it, there are apparently some condominium associations. Jen's getting a lot of questions about recycling, and people are being instructed to bring recycling here to the central transfer station.
What kind of recycling?
Well,
Like-
they just say, bring your recycling
Right.
to, so she is getting a lot of cardboard
Right,
and
not the
cans.
TVs or the.
Yeah, not the
stuff
TVs
we
or
do
the,
recycle.
right, so she's trying to explain to people that we do not do that sort of recycling
Cans,
at
plastic,
this time.
or cardboard.
We do not right now. So I just wanted to get it out, because we're gonna be online.
Mhm.
That we do recycle things like refrigerators.
Right, so white
um,
goods,
metals,
electronics,
Electronics,
Tires.
metals, tires,
tires,
yeah,
those are the big.
those are the items that we're currently recycling.
Right,
We have hazardous waste day, that's
Mhm.
twice a year that we can take down to the Plymouth
mhm,
transfer station, but those will be announced when they are available. And you can do things like paints and
mhm.
batteries and that sort of hazardous household waste. But just, please don't bring your cardboard or plastic or
Cans.
cans here until we make an announcement about it
Okay,
As recycling.
as recycling.
right, we
Right,
just
right.
treated it
yeah,
just
just
as
treat it
regular,
as regular
as solid waste.
solid waste right now.
Okay, anything else on that?
No, that's all.
I had just one very quick walk on. I wanted to give the rest of the board just a quick update on a conversation I had with Reggie about naming the downstairs meeting room.
Mhm.
So they're gonna take it on, the Historical Society. And we talked about, I told her that we would like several names to consider, or maybe a little justification for each one. I told her my approach to it would be, to have like a historical category. Is there anybody we missed from a historical standpoint? Another category I think I'd like to see would be something, a category, a more general category of people who've had a really big impact on Waterville Valley, but maybe not doesn't rise to the level of a history book sort of thing, like people who worked on the trails, or something hiking related. I don't think we have much in that regard. The trails are named for, and also try to find new people to honor. Third category I put under municipal or political, like people who have served on boards, given many hours of their life over many years to serve on as volunteers or elected official. It's something common you see. And the last one, which I think will cover all three, is any person or category of person that's underrepresented. And the first one that came to my mind was women. I don't think we have anything named in town. Do we have anything named in town after a notable woman watervillian, where someone's had an impact. I can think of several names, but I couldn't come up with any.
Grace
And-
Bean Coffee?
Well, I mean, that's
Absolutely.
one of the ones that Reggie and I talked about a few names. Grace Bean was one that came up as someone we should, consider. So anyway, they're gonna take a look at that. I told them there's no big hurry. Just do it when you do it and let me know when you guys are done, or let Mark know, and we'll schedule you for a select board meeting.
Sure.
And we'll roll through the names. Okay. Anything else from anybody before we go into non-public? Alrighty, so I will entertain a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. We'll be seeing you around.